In mathematics, very often we have numerical expressions in which we are required to perform more than one operation. The order in which we perform those operations determines the answer that we will get. I'd like for us to begin this lesson by looking at a problem that requires us to perform two different operations, and I want to work it two different ways. Let's look at the problem. Our problem is 7 subtract 3 times 2. Remember that the dot represents the operation of multiplication. To begin with, let's move from left to right and let's perform the operations as we come to them. 7 subtract 3 gives us 4, and then we have 4 times 2, which is 8. Let's write down the order in which we perform the operations. First, we completed our subtraction, and then we completed our multiplication. Now let's work this problem again, but let's change the order of operation. I still want to move from left to right, but I want to skip over the subtraction and I want to multiply first. So let's write the 7, let's write the subtract. 3 times 2 is 6, and now let's say 7 subtract 6, and when we do, we get an answer of 1. Notice that my answers are different. Let's also write down the order that we followed this last time we worked this problem. First, we perform the multiplication. And then we perform the subtraction, didn't we? In mathematics, when we give you a problem, we want everyone to get the same answer. So that everyone will get the same answer, we have rules that we follow when we evaluate an expression that contains more than one operation. These rules are called the order of operations agreement. Let's look at these rules. The order of operations agreement. First, we perform all operations inside parentheses. In mathematics, we use the parentheses to tell us to work the operations inside that parentheses first. We use those parentheses as grouping symbols. Next, after we have performed all operations inside parentheses, we evaluate all expressions containing exponents. After we evaluate all expressions containing exponents, we multiply and divide from left to right. Now, in rule number 3, it's very important that we always move from left to right. We should always move from left to right anytime that we are simplifying a numerical expression. But when we are looking for multiplication and division to perform, multiplication does not take priority over division. We perform the operation that we come to first. If we come to multiplication first, then we multiply first. If we come to division first, then we divide first. They are equally important as we perform step number 3. After we have completed all multiplication and division, then we look at step number 4. Step number 4 says to add and subtract from left to right. Once again, addition does not take priority over subtraction. when we have completed all multiplication and division, we move from left to right and we perform whichever one of those operations comes first, subtraction or addition. It's whichever one comes first. Okay, let's look back at that first problem. Let's see what the correct answer was if we followed our rules for the order of operations. We only had two operations, didn't we? Let's look at that problem. The operations were subtraction and multiplication. What do our rules tell us we need to do first? We were supposed to perform the multiplication and then the subtraction, weren't we? So our answer should have been 1. Okay, let's work some problems. Let's look at problem number 1. In problem number 1, we are to simplify the numerical expression 5 plus 2 times 4. We have two operations, addition and multiplication, don't we? We do not have to worry about parentheses because we have none. We do not have any exponents. So next we look for multiplication or division. So the first thing we're going to do here is to move from left to right. We'll write the 5. We skip over the addition, but we want to perform the multiplication. 2 times 4 is 8. Then we'll say 5 plus 8 is 13. We'll take care of the addition. In problem number 2, our numerical expression is 5 squared, subtract 8, divided by 2, times 3. Let's follow our order of operations. We're supposed to look for parentheses as grouping symbols first, and we have no parentheses. Then we're supposed to evaluate our exponents. We have 5 squared, which is 25. Now let's rewrite the rest of the problem. We have 25 subtract 8 divided by 2 times 3. We have taken care of exponents. Next, we need to perform the multiplication or division as we come to it from left to right. So we'll write the 25, we'll skip over the subtraction, and we come to 8 divided by 2. 8 divided by 2 is 4. Let's write the dot and then the 3. Now, we haven't completed all our multiplication and division, so let's go back through and let's complete our multiplication. We'll have 25 subtract 4 times 3 is 12. We have now completed all our multiplication and division, so we may add or subtract. We have 25 subtract 12, which is 13. I'd like to encourage you, when you have a problem that has more than one multiplication or division, as you move through that step, in this case, instead of saying 8 divided by 2 and writing the 4 times the 3, we could have done all of this at one time. We could have said 8 divided by 2 is 4 and 4 times 3 is 12 and gone straight from this step to this step. In problem number 3, we have 6 times, then we have parentheses, 3 plus 2 inside the parentheses, divided by 10. Now, the parentheses here are used for grouping symbols to tell us to perform this operation first. First, we want to say 3 plus 2. The dot here means that after we have added the 3 and 2, we want to take that answer and multiply it by the 6. Okay, so our order of operations say perform what's the operation in parentheses first. So we'll have 6 dot 3 plus 2 is 5. I no longer need the parentheses because I have performed the operation in parentheses, and the dot here tells me that I need to say 6 times 5. So I've taken care of the operation in parentheses. So let's write the division and then the 10. Next, I'll look for exponents. I have no expressions with exponents. So next, I move from left to right and I perform multiplication and division as I come to it. 6 times 5 is 30, and then I'll write divided by 10. Last, I'll say 30 divided by 10 is 3. So my answer is 3. Once again, I'd like to encourage you, when you have the 6 times 5 divided by 10, if you would like to say 6 times 5 is 30 and 30 divided by 10 and write the 3, you may skip writing this step. In problem number 4, our expression says 4 squared plus 3 times, and then we have parentheses, 5 subtract 3. The parentheses in this case are used as grouping symbols to tell us to perform the subtraction of the 5 and the 3 first. The dot here means that after we have subtracted the 3 from the 5, we want to multiply that answer times 3. So following our rules of order, we know to perform operations in parentheses first. Let's write the 4 squared plus the 3 times, and let's say 5 subtract 3 is 2. Since we have performed the operation in the grouping symbols, we no longer need those grouping symbols. Always when you work these problems, write each expression that you are not working with. Sometimes if we don't write everything down, then we forget later to perform the operation on it. So be very careful and go ahead and write your 4 squared plus your 3 and your times, and then the only thing that I do on this first step is I say 5 subtract 3 and I write the 2 in place of it. Now let's take care of that exponent. 4 squared is 16 plus, let's write the 3 times 2. Now let's take care of multiplication and division. So we'll write the 16, then the plus. We'll say 3 times 2 is 6. And last we need to say 16 plus 6 is 22. Have you gotten your steps down? Let's just sort of review them with keywords. Perform operations in parentheses first, so we think parentheses first. Then we take care of exponents, so then we think exponents. Next, multiply and divide. Next, add and subtract. Parentheses, exponents, multiply and divide, add and subtract. Those are our key words. I bet you've kind of memorized them by now, haven't you? Let's go on and work problem number 5. In problem number 5, we look for parentheses that are used as grouping symbols. We have no parentheses. We look for exponents and we have 2 cubed. So let's write 15 plus 3 times 2 cubed is 8. We've taken care of exponents. Now let's look for multiplication and division. 15 plus 3 times 8 is 24. We've taken care of multiplication and division. Now let's look for addition and subtraction. 15 plus 24 gives us 39. Okay, let's look at problem number 6. In problem number 6, we have 4 squared times 2 squared plus 3 times 5. We look for parentheses. We have none. We look for exponents. We have 2 sets. Moving from left to right, 4 squared gives us 16 times 2 squared gives us 4 plus 3 times 5. We've taken care of exponents. Let's go through and take care of multiplication and division, moving from left to right as it occurs. 16 times 4 gives us 64, plus 3 times 5 gives us 15. Since we've taken care of all the multiplication, we're left to add 64 to 15, and we get 79. Now, on problem number 7, I want us to look at the parentheses. The parentheses are serving double duty here. They are grouping. They are telling us to say 6 subtract 3 first, but they also tell us after we have said 6 subtract 3, they serve as a multiplication symbol that tells us when it's time to multiply that we will say 8 times the answer we got when we said 6 subtract 3. Always before in these problems, we've had 8 and then the dot stood for the multiplication. But we need to understand that we don't have to write the dot. That when we don't write the dot, that the parentheses tell us to perform the operation inside first, and then the parenthesis will represent the operation of multiplication. So, first step will be to say 6 subtract 3, which gives us 3. We keep the parentheses because they now will represent the operation of multiplication. Let's write subtract 12 plus 3. We look for exponent expressions. We have none, so we'll move from left to right and multiply and divide. We have 8 times 3 is 24. Subtract 12 plus 3. We have taken care of the multiplication and division. Now let's move from left to right and add and subtract. We have 24 subtract 12, which is 12 plus 3. 12 plus 3 then gives us 15. Now I would like to encourage you, after you've taken care of your multiplication and division and all you have left is addition and subtraction, you may certainly move from left to right and do this all in your head and write this final answer. We can skip this step. We could say 24 subtract 12 is 12, and 12 plus 3 is 15, and write the 15. Now, I'd like for us to look at the next problem, and let's talk about the parenthesis again. In problem number 8, we have 18 subtract, and then in parentheses we have 11 subtract 6, then divided by 5. In this problem, the parentheses represent grouping symbols. Since we have the subtract and we have no number out in front of the parentheses, they simply represent grouping symbols. So all we're supposed to do is to figure out what 11 subtract 6 is, and then we will no longer need the parentheses. So let's do that. Let's perform the first step, subtract. 11 subtract 6 is 5, so I'll write the 5, and I no longer need the parentheses because I have performed the operation inside. Let's write divided by 5. Next, I'll look for exponents, and I have none. Next, I come through from left to right and multiply or divide. I do have division, so let's say 18 subtract 5 divided by 5 is 1. And last, I can say 18 subtract 1 is 17. Let's look at problem number 9. I have 12 plus 4, then in parentheses I have 5 subtract 2, and then I have the outside the parentheses a power of 2 divided by 9. What am I supposed to do with this expression? What do the parentheses tell me to do? Well, they are used as a grouping symbol here, aren't they? They tell me that first I'm supposed to say 5 subtract 2. Next, I'll have to raise that answer to the second power. But then they also represent that when I get through with all of this, I am supposed to multiply by 4. Since there is no symbol between the 4 and the parentheses, it is understood that I am supposed to multiply after I have performed the operation in parentheses and raise that answer to the second power. So let's follow those rules. Perform the operation in parentheses first, so we'll have 12 plus 4. In parentheses, I have 5 subtract 2, that would be 3. I'm going to keep the parentheses so that I will remember to square the 3, and then I need to multiply that times the 4. Let's write the divided by 9. All right, we have performed the operation inside of parentheses. Now we have to evaluate the expression raised to a power. So we have 12 plus 4. 3 squared is 9, and I'm supposed to multiply the 4 times the 9. So I want to keep the parentheses so that this expression says 4 times 9. I could either write 4 and write the 9 in parentheses, or I could write 4.9. That doesn't matter. All right, I have taken care of evaluating the expression raised to a power. I now want to multiply and divide, moving from left to right. So I'll have 12 plus 4 times 9 gives me 36 divided by 9. I have taken care of the multiplication, but I need to complete the division. So let's go back through. We'll have 12 plus 36 divided by 9 is 4. Last, I'll say 12 plus 4 is 16. Now, once again, I would like to encourage you, when I am working on step 3, performing all multiplication and division, when I have all this multiplication and division in a row, when I have 4 times 9 divided by 9, I can perform all those operations in my head. I may say 4 times 9 is 36, and 36 divided by 9 is 4, and just write that 4. That's up to you. You do what you're more comfortable with. Okay, I'd like for us to look at some variable expressions, and let's practice simplifying variable expressions when we are given values for the variables. Let's look at problem number 10 now. Let's pay attention to the directions. The directions here say evaluate the expression for the given values of the variables. What we are supposed to do is to take this expression x plus y divided by x squared and substitute x equal to 2 and y equal to 8. Replace that x with a 2 and y with an 8. So when we do that, we'll write the 2 plus we write the 8 divided by, since x is squared, we want to write 2 squared. Now let's follow our rules that we learned for our order of operations. So we have no parentheses serving as grouping symbols, so the first thing we're going to do is square that 2. So let's write 2 plus 8 divided by 2 squared is 4. Next we go through and multiply or divide, so we'll have 2 plus 8 divided by 4 is 2, and last 2 plus 2 is 4. Let's look at one more variable expression. In problem number 11, we want to evaluate the expression. Our expression is x squared plus 2 parentheses x subtract y divided by z squared. X equals 9, y equals 3, z equals 2. Let's replace this x with a 9, so we'll have 9 squared plus 2 parentheses 9 subtract 3 close parentheses divided by 2 squared. Now look at your parentheses. Once again, they're serving as double duty. They are grouping the 9 subtract the 3, so that tells us to subtract that 3 from that 9 first, but they also serve as multiplication symbols because we are supposed to multiply this answer times 2. Since there's no symbol between the 2 and the parenthesis, then the parentheses also serve as multiplication symbols. So let's follow our rules. We know we want to perform the operation in parentheses first, so let's write 9 squared plus 2. In parentheses, we'll say 9 subtract 3 is 6. I need to keep those parentheses because they tell me that when I come to the step in this problem where I want to multiply, I'm supposed to multiply the 2 times the 6. Let's write the division and then 2 squared. So we have performed the operation in parentheses. Now let's evaluate our exponent expressions. 9 squared is 81 plus 2 times 6 divided by 2 squared is 4. We have taken care of exponents. Now let's work from left to right and multiply or divide. We'll have 81 plus 2 times 6 is 12 divided by 4. We have completed the multiplication, but we need to finish the division. So we have 81 plus 12 divided by 4 is 3. And last, 81 plus 3 is 84. Now once again, notice when we came to step 3 where we were trying to go through and do all our multiplication and division, when we came to 2 times 6 divided by 4, we could say 2 times 6 is 12 and 12 divided by 4 is 3, and just write that 3 down. So we're left to say 81 plus 3 equals 84. I'd like for us to look at problem number 12. Notice it says simplify. We have 3 parentheses 7 subtract 5 plus 2 parentheses 6 subtract parentheses 4 subtract 1. Now I hope by now in this lesson that you have mastered the order in which we perform the operations. But also I have tried to emphasize the ways in which we use parentheses. We use parentheses as grouping symbols to tell us to perform certain operations first. And we use parentheses as a multiplication symbol. And sometimes we use parentheses to mean both grouping symbols and a multiplication symbol. I have written problem number 12 to help us better understand the ways that we use parentheses. Let's look at problem number 12. Let's look at this first set of parentheses. They are grouping symbols. They are telling us that the operation we want to perform first is the 7 subtract 5. But they are also multiplication symbols because there is no symbol between the 3 and the parentheses. So we know that after we get the answer to 7 subtract 5, when it comes time to multiply, that we will say 3 times that answer. Now let's look at these parentheses. We have 2 parentheses 6. These parentheses simply represent the operation of multiplication. When it comes time to multiply, in simplifying this problem, then we will say 2 times 6. And all they tell us to do is to multiply. Now let's look at these parentheses. These parentheses are only grouping symbols. They tell us to perform the operation of 4 subtract 1 in the first step. They are not multiplication symbols. The reason they are not multiplication symbols is because there's no number right next to them, in front of them, like the 3 is right next to the parentheses. There's no number here to multiply by. Okay, let's simplify this problem. Let's go through and let's perform the operations in grouping symbols first. So let's perform the operations within the parentheses that represent grouping symbols. This first set represented grouping symbols. Let's write the 3. 7 subtract 5 is 2. we need to keep the parentheses because they also represent multiplication, don't they? We know that when it comes time, we'll say 3 times 2. Plus 2, let's skip over the plus 2 times the 6, subtract. The 4 subtract 1 is 3. Since these parentheses only represent grouping symbols to tell us to perform the operation inside on the first step, we no longer need those parentheses. Now let's check for exponents. We have no exponents. Next, let's move from left to right and perform any multiplication or division. 3 times 2 is 6, plus 2 times 6 is 12. Subtract 3. And last, let's move from left to right and let's add and subtract. Let's do this as one step. 6 plus 12 is 18. 18 subtract 3 is 15. So our answer is 15. Well, I hope that clears up any questions that you might have about parentheses. Next, I would like for you to work 2 problems. I'll put problems 13 and 14 on the screen. I'd like for you to copy them, pause your tape, and work them. After you have worked them, I will work them so you can check to see that your work is correct. Now, if you will, look at the screen and work these problems. How did you do? Let's work these problems. In problem number 13, we are to simplify. We have 4 plus 2 times 5. We have no parentheses used as grouping symbols. We have no exponents, so we want to multiply first. So we'll say 4 plus the 2 times 5 is 10, and 4 plus 10 is 14. In problem number 14, we have 5 subtract 2 plus 4 divided by 2 times 3. We have no parentheses used for grouping symbols. We have no exponents. So let's move from left to right and let's perform any multiplication or division as we come to it. We have 5 subtract 2 plus 4 divided by 2 is 2 times 3. Now let's go back through and let's multiply. We'll have 5 subtract 2 plus 2 times 3 is 6. Now I hope that when you started this problem, and since we know that the division and multiplication have the same priority, when you came to 4 divided by 2 times 3, that you did that in one step. You thought 4 divided by 2 is 2, and 2 times 3 is 6, and you skip this step right here. Last, let's move from left to right and add and subtract as we come to those operations. Let's do this in one step. 5 subtract 2 is 3, and 3 plus 6 is 9. Now I'd like for you to work 2 problems that involve variable expressions. I'll put them on the screen. Once again, please copy them, pause your tape, and work them, and then I shall work them. But at this time, please look at the screen and copy these problems. Okay, are you ready to work these problems? Let's look at problem 15 first. In problem 15, we are to evaluate the expression for the given values of the variables. The expression is x plus 4y. We know that when we write the 4 and the y together, that means that we are to multiply 4 times y. We are supposed to let x equal to 6 and y equal 5. So let's put the 6 in for the x. So we'll have 6 plus 4, and we need to use a symbol for multiplication. Let's use the dot. For this expression, we have no parentheses used as grouping symbols. We have no exponents. So our first operation that we will perform is multiplication. Let's say 6 plus 4 times 5 is 20. And last, 6 plus 20 gives us 26. Let's look at problem number 16. We have x minus y, and these parentheses are used as grouping symbols to tell us to perform this operation first. Once we get the answer, we want to raise it to the second power. Subtract 3y, which of course 3y means 3 times y. We're to let x equal to 8 and y equals 4. So let's replace the x with the 8, subtract the y with the 4, let's write the power, minus 3 times y, and this time let's use the parentheses for the multiplication symbol, so we need to show 3 times 4, so I'll put that 4 in parentheses. Now our order of operations agreement tells us to perform the operation in this parentheses first. 8 subtract 4 is 4. We no longer need the parentheses since we have performed the operation. We'll write this power of 2, subtract 3 times 4. Next, let's evaluate the 4 squared. 4 squared is 16. Subtract 3 times 4. Next, we multiply. We'll have 16. Subtract 3 times 4 is 12. And last, 16 subtract 12 gives us 4. That completes the order of operations agreement on whole number expressions lesson. Please rewind the tape before you return it. Thank you.